So we had been talking about search engines and how they work, how they create an index, and then how you can search that index to find the pages that you're looking for that match the search terms that you put in. What we're going to look at today and over the next couple of days, the next couple of classes, is search engine optimization. Now, search engine optimization is the practice of designing or redesigning your website in such a way as to maximize the ability of a search engine to find out what your site is about, and so to maximize its ability to match your site to relevant search terms. There are people out there that think search engine optimization is all about tricking the search engines and about fooling them into thinking your site is more relevant than it actually is. Now, that's probably a fool's errand, I would think, because if you fool Google today, fair enough, but you probably won't fool Google tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. And then Google will be mad at you. It'll figure out you tried to trick it, and you'd probably be worse off than if you'd done nothing. So there are plenty of people out there who'd be happy to take your money to guarantee you that they can, increase your ranking by a certain amount. And perhaps they could, but it may only be short-lived. So we have the distinction between what we call black hat search engine optimization and white hat search engine optimization. Black hat search engine optimization is trying to fool Google to rank you higher. White hat search engine optimization is trying to make your site easier for Google to understand what it is about, so that it can match your website then to relevant search terms. And you only want people who are interested in your site coming anyway. There was a practice in the past where you would put all sorts of search terms, all sorts of keywords into your metadata so that you would get more traffic, But if you're selling bicycles, there's no point in getting people who are looking for porn, Unless there's a subgenre I'm unfamiliar with. But, okay, you get more traffic, yip-de-doo, but if someone is looking for porn, they're going to say, oh, well, I never thought of it. Actually, I really need a bike, there's no point in driving irrelevant traffic to your site anyway. It might make you feel better, you've got more traffic now, you've got more visitors. But if they're not buying, or if they're not in the business, if they're not in the market for what you have to sell, whether you're selling persuasion or actual products, doesn't matter, then you're only wasting your time anyway. So you want to think of Google as like a matchmaker. So you're a website, and there's someone out there looking for you. And they're looking for what you've got to offer. Search engine optimization is about, combing your hair, having a shave, putting on a nice shirt, make you that bit more attractive. It's not about lying about your height or your job or, other things about you. So it's about maybe, making it easier for people to find you, to make that match happen. Okay? So most of search engine optimization is fairly straightforward. So it's about adapting the content and the structure of your pages so they'll appear higher up in the search results for anyone searching for topics relevant to your content. It's all about relevance. There's no point in pretending your site is something it isn't. So if you are selling bicycles and there are people looking for bicycles, Google can put the two of you together. Now, you can't really guarantee a placement, okay? As I was saying before, there's no amount of money you could pay Google that would cause them to rank you higher than someone that they think is more relevant, or someone's site they think is better. Because that's how they make their money. their customers keep coming back. We keep going back to Google because we put in what we want and it gives us good answers. It's essential to Google that they keep doing that. So even if you have loads of money to spend, you know, even if you say to Google, I have millions and millions of dollars to spend and I know those people looking for porn, if you'd only give them to me, they really would buy my bicycles, you know. So, you know, that's not how Google does its business. So Google gives people what they're looking for, they keep coming back for more, and Google makes its money from the ads. And by the time we're done with this module, we know a lot about the ads, okay? And the algorithms that companies like Google and Bing and, you know, the algorithms that different search engines use to rank pages, they change a lot. But there are things that we know you can do that can improve your ranking. I have a handout here, but it's not sorted, so if I give it out now, it'll just be a huge distraction. So I'll wait till the end. Now, one important thing to remember about search engines is that they find pages. So when you put in search terms, Google will look for pages that match those terms. So each and every single page is in itself an optimization challenge. So you have to look at each individual page and see, okay, how is Google going to see that? You know, what's this page about? And that's not how we think about websites. When we build a website, we think about, we have the front door, you know, so the CIT website, www.cit.ie. I think everybody's coming in the front door. You know, we can say welcome. Here are the things we have. But a search engine doesn't see your site like that. It just sees a bunch of pages. And each single page has to be looked at to see that it's doing the job it's supposed to be doing. Now, the idea behind search engine optimization is the more accurately the search engine can figure out what your page is about, the better. So if you sell tires for bicycles, well, you know, if Google can figure that out, then people who are looking for tires for bicycles, it can put the two of you together. If it's not sure, if your website is something to do with bicycles, well, you probably won't get those people who are looking for tires for bicycles as readily, because all Google can figure out is your site is something to do with bicycles. And once again, just want to make the point, trying to trick the search engine is probably a bad idea. Do you really want to mess with Google? Do you think your evil plan to make a few bob by increasing people's rankings, your evil plan is so good that Google and all of its resources will not figure you out? It's a bad bet, you know. Better off trying to fool me or someone, you know. But trying to mess with the Google, I don't know. And they know where you live. They've driven a car to your house. So be careful. No. So this comes back to the black hat versus white hat, which I cannot emphasize enough, because you will see if you do search engine optimization on the web. Let's say I sent you the task of writing a paper or giving a presentation on search engine optimization. It'll break down into two camps. People who will take your money because they have some super cool schemes for fooling Google, you know. And you know what, in the short term they might even work. And then there's just the sensible stuff. So we're mostly interested in the sensible stuff because that's where we get the long-term payoff. There's local search engine optimization and external search engine optimization. Google ranks pages using a number, well, not a number, you know, hundreds of parameters that feed into what the score would be. Some of them are to do with the page itself, and some of them are to do with things outside of the page. So if, for example, you have two bicycle shops, you know, Dan's Bikes and Mike's Bikes, and if everything else about the sites was the same, if all other things were equal, but thousands of people had links to Dan's bikes, and hundreds of people had left reviews, you know, for Dan's bikes, well then Dan's bikes would rank higher than Mike's bikes. So there are things outside of the control of the author of the website. There are external factors as well. No, some people try and fake those too, you know. I mean, you can, you know, get an army of, you know, minions somewhere, you know, for $1 a go to write fabulous reviews about your product or to make web pages that link to them, you know, and things like that. And that's stuff that can happen. In the very, very early days of Google, the number of pages linking to your page was a very, very important factor. It was one of the most important factors. Google figured out that if lots of people are linking to something, then it must be useful. That's increasingly less useful as a metric. Do you know what I mean? It's grand for people like us, you know, the nerds, to be making web pages and having links to other web pages and stuff. But I mean, the muggles don't generally make web pages and link to things. You know, so it's not such an important thing now. We're mostly interested in local SEO because that's the thing we have control over, really. Most other things are just either happen naturally, or you pay some minions in some dark corner of the web to do your bidding, and it happens. Like I said, most of the precise nature of the algorithms that search engines use are secret. For good reason. I mean, if they told you exactly how they worked, then you could game them. You know, you could say, aha, if I do such and such and such, I'll go up a bit. Also, like, I mean, to a very large extent, they're trade secrets. I mean, how Google ranks web pages is essentially Google's secret sauce. I mean, if you knew how Google did that, and you had the money to roll out, you know, something else, a competing search engine, then, you know, Google would be disadvantaged by that. So it's kept secret because it's a trade secret, because it confers some advantage on Google, but also just to stop people gaming it. However, Google has produced this document here, Search Engine Optimization Starter Guide, which has lots of advice and the fairly obvious stuff. Now, it doesn't say, you know, this is weighted at 10% and this is weighted at, you know, it's not clear what's most important. But, you know, if you ask Google, how does your ranking work? This is the answer to the question. It gives you this. So this is as much as Google is prepared to tell us. And there's some very, very good advice in there. You can download this yourself. I have a few copies here. I don't generally print stuff because people generally don't read it, but I have them there. So I'll give those out in a minute. So the black screen stuff here I'm showing you is, I was going to say mine, but it's actually someone else's. And then this colored screen is taken directly from this document. So just so we can see what's coming from Google and what sort of just stuff added in. Search engines only search the text on the page. So if you have some super cool product and you were able to take a incredibly illustrative, insightful and emotive photograph that said it all. So you're holding your super product here, you know, and you can figure out from looking at that picture exactly what it does and exactly how feckin' cool it is, right? And we say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but it's no good to Google. A machine can't look at that picture and go, okay, this guy is selling a new super cool drink, you know. It's just a JPEG with black box inside. So search engines search text. And it's kind of stupid, it kind of goes without saying, but your web page should have that text on it that someone will be able to find what your page is about. And you sometimes go and you look at websites and you think, yeah, but like, where's the text? Do you know? So it's important to remember that. If text is very, very small, or if it's close in color to the background of the page, then maybe you might trigger Google's spam alert. Because you could see how, you could have Dan's bikes and text about Dan's bike, and then, in tiny writing, almost white, porn, or something, in an effort to try and drive traffic to the site that's not relevant. So if you trigger Google's spam filter, you're screwed. You're back to the back of the queue. So any of the techniques we discuss, if you push them too far, you might freak the Google bot a bit, and then you'd be in trouble. The trick is to remain honest and to not be a muppet. So it's all about the text. If you have logos, for example, or diagrams, Google isn't going to see those. So if the name of your company is Dan's Bikes, and you have a lovely banner on the top of the page in a super cool font that you couldn't manage unless you did it in Photoshop, so you have a big JPEG there or a PNG in the top of the page that has Dan's Bikes and its logo and stuff. That's all very well, but if it says nothing about Dan's Bikes on the page and someone is looking for Dan's Bikes, nothing to do with you. All Google sees is the text. You can actually get browsers that only do text. And it can be very interesting to look at the page from the point of view of what Google sees, what the bot will see. Or you could even turn off your styling and turn off. In the past, it used to be most browsers had the option to turn off images. You don't get that so much now. But so all the search engine sees is the text. So it's text. It's all about the text. So then we come to keywords. So you want to include in the text of your page the kinds of words that people would be using to look for your page. So if you're selling bicycle tires, well, you should have some text on your page about bicycle tires. And you would be horrified sometimes when you look at a page how they're so hung up on, we're super cool, we're the best. They forget to mention, they're selling bicycle tires. We're not selling bicycle tires, we're selling a lifestyle choice. Yeah, you're selling bicycle tires. Just make sure to mention that. Okay? So we call those keywords. So we'll be hearing about keywords a lot. And so once you've figured out what your keywords are, then you need to make sure that they're baked into the page in various places. So you have your meta description tags, title tags, header tags, things like that. We're going to look at the importance of those. Now, the keywords must be relevant to your content. So if you're selling bicycle tires, you want to be talking about bicycle tires and not something else. And you should focus on a few strong keywords rather than throwing everything into your pages. Like if you have, if bicycle tires is mostly what your page talks about and someone is looking for bicycle tires, then they're more likely to find that page than a page that has just as much about bicycle tires and lots of other stuff as well. Now, if that other stuff is equally as relevant as your bicycle tires, then you're laughing. But if it's not, you're losing out to some guy who just talks about bicycle tires. I'm so upset I picked that as a random example at the start of the class, but now we're stuck with it anyway. Okay? So you need to figure out what words describe the purpose of your site, what people looking for your site would type in, okay? What search terms they'd use at Google, what search terms are people using to find your competitors' sites? And what are the popular keywords in there? Now, Google even has tools to help you come up with the keywords. So there are services as well. I mean, I've even seen entire job ads where it's just all about this. This could be all you do for a living, is, you know, figure out this stuff. So you can, you know, put in a list, like if you, you know, if you're doing cakes, you know, maybe people might be looking for muffins or baking or bakery. You know, there may be lots of terms that you need to consider, and there are tools that you can do that. It could be informative as well to Google the kinds of things you're looking for and then see what sites come up first. You know, if you're number 20, what are the guys 1 to 19 doing that you're not doing? And have a look and see. So, this is from the document from Google. You want to create unique, accurate page titles. Now, this is something I was very lazy about doing. You know, if you have a website about a particular topic, so, you know, Dan's Bike Magazine, right? You know, like, you're going to have lots of different pages. You might just say, well, look, you know, I can just use the same title for all of the pages. But a title is a very, very important piece of information for a search engine. It says what this particular page is about. So if they all say, you know, Dan's Bike Magazine, you're not going to get any, you're missing out on a major opportunity there. So the title of the page should say what the page is about. And that's great help to Google. You know, usually the most important things about the page you can tell from the title. So if it's, you know, how to change a bicycle tire in the dark, you know, that's the title of your page. Rather than just saying, you know, Dan's Bike Magazine. So you want to accurately describe the page's contents and create unique title tags for each page. So you don't just use the same one over and over and over and over again. So very often what happens is people just use the name of the site as the title because they're lazy. But you want to treat each single individual page as a separate optimization challenge. So it needs to be unique, and you want to try and include some of the keywords. So if it's how to change a bicycle tire in the dark, you know, you've got your bicycle, you've got your tire, you've got change, you've got dark. Now, it's important in the document then to use semantic tags and to use them properly. You may recall in your SOF 6007, your lecturer for that, who was that? Was that me? Yeah. All right. The lecturer banging on about using H1 and H2 and using tags that reveal the structure of the document. So even though H1 causes something to be big and bold and in black, it's not the same as using the font tag to make it big and bold and black. If something is a H1, that tells you something about its importance. If it's a H1, it's the most important heading in the document. If there's H2s under that, those H2s are subsections of that H1. If there are H3s under those H2s, well then those H3 topics are connected to the H2s that they're underneath in some way. And so you can generate some meaning from that. So you could see how if you have, you know, bicycle tires in a H2, if you have a changing H3 tag under that, well, because that H3 is under that H2, well then maybe a machine looking at that document could understand that that's talking about changing bicycle tires because the H2 is inside in the H3. If you just had all those in bold, they might look the same, but that meaning, that connection between them is lost. So I appreciate that's a kind of a subtle point, but it's really, really important. There's a machine looking at this page. It's desperate for clues to understand what it's about. And if you use your H1s and H2s and H3s properly, you can give it more of a clue. You can give it some understanding. So when we read a document with H1s, H2s and H3s, we just see nice font. It sees a tree. It sees a structure. And that structure has value and has meaning to it. You want to focus a single page on a single topic. So if you have 5 things you want to talk about, and one of them is changing bicycle tires in the dark, right? If you put all of those 5 things on the one page, well, you might think there's more on the page. That page is more useful. It might rank higher up. But it might not. If you break those 5 separate topics up into 5 individual pages, in total, those 5 pages would probably get more traffic than the one page that had all 5 things. Now, obviously, the one page that has all 5 things would probably get more traffic than any one of the individual pages. But a single page about a single topic that someone is interested in is going to get more traffic than a page that has more things in it. So if you have a page on changing bicycle tires in the dark and someone is looking for changing bicycle tires in the dark, then the page that has only that in it is going to rank higher than the page that has that and the 4 other things, because it'll be diluted. So Google will rank the page that's only about the thing you're interested in higher up. So that's kind of counterintuitive. You would think, well, the more you put in there, the more useful it is, the better. But if you stay off the topic, you might dilute the effectiveness of what you've got. So here now, we're talking about reorganizing the structure of the site a bit. So if you have an existing site, you might look at it and say, well, this page is actually talking about 3 things. It might be better to make 3 separate pages. So this is just saying much the same, as if to not take his own advice. So you want to not spread your topics over, you don't want to fill too much into the one page. So you want each page to be about a single thing where possible. Because remember, search engines are interested in pages, not sites. Be careful too about using only abbreviations. It's all very well to think, okay, well, someone is coming to the CIT website. They come in the front door. They see Cork Institute of Technology, written on the front page. So on the other pages, no, we can just use CIT because, they've come through the front door. But people don't come through the front door of your website in the same way they come through the front door of your, department store. They just teleport in to random places. And so they may have searched, they might put in some particular search terms. They turn up at a random page on your site. They need to know where they are. And if you only use abbreviations, for example, that's going to cause problems for people searching, because CIT by itself could be any number of things. There could be lots of CITs. If someone's looking for Cork Institute of Technology, you need to make sure that Cork Institute of Technology appears at least once on every page. No, you don't have to keep saying Cork Institute of Technology, you don't have to keep doing that. But on an individual page, just because you've explained what the abbreviation is somewhere else, doesn't mean you don't have to put it on each individual page. So if you talk about, in one section of your website about block matching algorithms, and you call those BMAs, on new pages then you still have to say block matching algorithms at least once. It's not enough to just keep using the abbreviation. So just have to be careful of that. Back to our bicycle tires. If you're looking for bicycle tires in Google, it'll come back with all of the pages that have the word bicycle and have the word tires. I'm sure there would be many. Pages that have the word bicycle close to the word tires would rank higher. So think about the proximity of your keywords. If they appear closer together, you're going to rank higher up. The more often the keywords appear in the document, the higher it's going to be ranked. So if changing bicycle tires is what the person has searched, then the more often changing appears, the more often bicycle appears, and the more often tires appears, the better. Now, if you've gone bananas, and you're just like, if you're putting in the keywords too much in an attempt to increase your ranking, it will look fairly obvious when you see the page. You may then trigger again one of the spam filters. So, if you've got free 50 times, that's gonna that's gonna trigger the Muppet alert. Okay, and you'll be down the back of the queue. But do bear in mind that if your page is about a particular thing, the more often those particular things, those keywords appear in the page, then the better. But you don't want to rewrite the rules of common sense to make that happen. And the position on the page is important. So if your web page is about changing bicycle tires in the dark, and you have a really, really interesting story about blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. So that's why you have to learn to change bicycle tires in the dark. Like, if changing bicycle tires in the dark is your punchline, well, maybe the search engine hasn't stuck around and read to the end. Many search engines will only index a certain portion of the page. They start at the start, keep going until a certain point, and they say, well, if I haven't figured out what it's about by now, I'm not going to. So if changing bicycle tires in the dark is what your page is about, but you haven't mentioned that to the very, very end, because it's like the punchline of some really funny story, well, maybe the search engine has done the equivalent of fall asleep before then. So you want to get to the point fairly promptly. Okay? There's a meta tag in HTML, and the purpose of the meta tag was to allow you to put in keywords that described what the page was about. And it was meant for search engines, and it was ideal, in fact. Now, unfortunately, many search engines have started ignoring it now because people were abusing it. So it was, Dan's bicycles, but the meta tag, said free porn, free porn, free porn. Or you get the meta tag saying like every county in Ireland. So there's someone searched for bicycles Dublin, even though Dan's bikes was in Cork, it might, you know, trigger Dan's Bikes in Cork instead of Dublin. So many search engines have stopped paying attention to the meta tag, but you still use it just in case they're interested. And so the meta tag, this isn't at all, this is the description tag, sorry. The meta tag isn't really used that much anymore. There's a description tag which you can use to say what the page is about. And they may use that. So you accurately describe what the site or what the page is about. Okay? And so we'll go through a number of these. If you want a paper version, stick around and I'll give you some. But I emailed you all a copy of this a long time ago anyway, and there's a link to it on the website. So don't take a paper one unless you're actually going to read it on paper. Any questions on any of that? So we're going to do a bit more of that. So we're going to go sort of like, you know, Google's tips for improving the ranking of your site.